Today's episode is presented by LodeStar, the fee experts.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this special episode of Lending Leaders. We have a great guest today, a longtime friend, former client, prolific leader in the credit union space, Peter Benjamin. He's currently president of ACUMA, a national credit union organization that he's going to talk a whole lot more about. Peter, glad it only took me 4 seasons to drag you onto the podcast.
Jim, you're busy. I'm busy. It's a new job for me. I can't really say it's a new job.
We've been twins. I didn't want to overload you. Yeah,
I guess we call it a pandemic at that point in time, right? Yeah, there you go.
The pandemic's the reason I started. I was like, I just miss talking to people, so that was how I got into this whole thing to begin with.
That's right. It's good.
So I know even before being at ACUMA, you have been in credit unions almost exclusively, I think, throughout your career. So I spent some time, at some large credit unions. I won't name by name, but I guess some kind of bounced around, right? Some things, right? I think that we actually first met while I was at a community bank. Yep. So why credit unions? Why are you a believer in the credit union movement that you put on your content?
So I've been in the business a long time, been in the mortgage business a long time. And I never really felt at home or found an organization that mimicked my own personal beliefs of doing better, being kinder, just helping others until I really found that at a credit union. And that's where I kind of saw the big picture of, okay, we're putting families in homes. We're doing really good work. We're really helping people. And that's really the idea behind the credit union movement, is that we're people helping people. And, it could be, a single mom who just needs help, being able to afford her bills. We're going to help her and do what we can to help. It could be a borrower who may not normally qualify for a traditional conventional loan. A credit union's going to be the one that says, hey, this puts them in a better spot. Let's help them out. They're a longtime member. Let's take care of them. So it was really that idea of, hey, we're just helping our neighbors. We're helping our communities. That made me fall in love with credit unions and the movement.
Yeah, and I think the focus on the members, right? This isn't a transaction. This is a lifelong relationship that we're looking to build. You don't have to be a credit union to do that, but it's so part of your identity that it's something that credit unions can do really well.
It is, but it's interesting. So, I worked for a very large credit union. I actually wrote out the financial crisis at a very large credit union, and I was amazed by what they did for their members. And then I left because I relocated to Texas with a different organization. But then I came back to the credit union space, and in the approximately 5 years I was at my last credit union, the number of members that had my cell phone or would call me and just want to ask questions and one, get to know me, but 2, I wanted to get to know them. It was completely different than whatever I ever experienced at other positions, other organizations. It was encouraged. It was get to know them. Not so much be friends with them, but know them as people. No, they're not just a number. They're the member. They're a longtime member. They're going to refer their grandkids to us, or refer their brothers to us. If they want to build a relationship with you, build a relationship with them. So it was beautiful. It was magical. And again, I never experienced that in the 20 years that I was in the business before.
I think one thing that we say often, it's very commonly the right thing to do, just in general, is the right thing to do for your business. Right? 100%. If you do the right thing, it's going to lead. It's not just for the own sake of it, right? It's doing right by someone is generally going to make them a lifelong client, right? It's going to help you in the long run. And I've seen that lately with credit unions, because it seems in the last 2 years, credit unions are weathering kind of this version of the mortgage crisis better than other people in the industry. Is that kind of in line with what you're seeing? What would you say are kind of some reasons for that?
I think credit unions are built for this type of market. The tough part about this is that, credit unions, they will say 2020, 2021, and even really the start of 2022, they were taking these very low interest rate mortgages and putting them on their books, right?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of caused some liquidity issues. They're not able to be as aggressive or help as many families as they can now versus what they used to. But credit unions are built to weather this, right? They have a very devout following with regards to their members. Like, their members are very loyal. Although it's difficult for credit unions to kind of expand their business, to bring on more mortgage clients in today's market. But again, it's their members still want to do business with them, right? Their members are still going to call them first, still going to figure out what their options are with their credit union before going someplace else. And that type of loyalty is amazing. And I will say this, I'm seeing credit unions starting to think outside the box and find ways to help their members, which is fantastic. That's what we keep pushing. Let's find new ways. There's still a mission at hand, and the mission is still to put families in homes, to really expand homeownership in our communities. And credit unions are doing it while still being focused on the safety and soundness of other organizations.
Mm-hmm. And it seems we're a member, we're a sponsor with ACUMA. We've been involved. You run a great conference.
Thank you.
We've sent folks over the past years. And to us, it seems like credit unions, they're still buying, right? Because they're weathering this market a little bit better. But they're also, I think they have a mindset that I find in my 11 years running this business is new for credit unions, which is, hey, we're going to invest in technology. We're going to invest in operations. We're going to, care about what this all looks like in a way that we not necessarily have before. Is that in line with what you've been seeing?
Yeah, it's a long, methodical approach to all this, right? Yes, the credit unions are still very much looking at the future and trying to find ways to be better. But it's credit unions. I don't want to say, because they're all different size ships, right? But they all take a very long time to turn. It doesn't matter if it's the biggest of the big or the smallest of the small. They all want to improve, but it takes a very long time for them to get there.
And they all talk to each other too. It's definitely it's a lot. It's a different type of market to sell into than
so it's interesting.
Banks or independent mortgage companies.
Yeah. I was a member of ACUMA before becoming president, and I've shared this story many times on our podcast or even at our events. It's my first experience was 3 months after leaving a community bank and going to a credit union. And it was my first experience with ACUMA, and I walked into an ACUMA event. This was probably 5 years ago. And it was actually a workshop in Nashville, Tennessee. And I was surrounded by people who I had never met before. And it was like the warm and inviting, how warm and inviting that they were and welcoming to me as like a outsider was amazing. But then each day of the 2-day conference, so both days of the 2-day conference, they had these round table discussions, which were open dialogue. The moderator would throw a question or two on the screen and say, hey, let's discuss it. I was blown away by the collaboration, the information shared just within like these little sessions. We had actually remember it was like we had a conversation on secondary marketing and how to transition from a portfolio lender to selling to a GSE. And it was just credit unions talking about this with each other, sharing emails, sharing contacts. This person can help you. This is what we did. I have procedures. I have a QC plan. It was amazing. I sat back there as again, an outsider, just sat back and just like, oh, wow. Like this, I heard that credit unions collaborated a lot, but never expected that.
I think just, conferences where people attend the speaking sessions, it can be surprising to me too. Not only the collaboration. Do you think because of the kind of mission and scope of credit unions that they have to be mostly geographically focused? Are they don't view each other as competitors as much as other folks would?
You get some credit unions overlap. I mean, a lot of credit unions overlap, especially, if you are a government focused or military focused. I mean, there's some overlap, right?
Faith-based.
Right. Faith-based. But, even if you're a community focused or geographic, a geographic credit union, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's credit unions want to learn, right? And they want to learn from each other. And it's very rare that you run into a credit union that says, hey, Joe down the street is my biggest competition. Yeah, he Joe down the street may be doing mortgages well and probably outproducing you, but he's not the competition, right?
And you just want to serve your members as well as possible.
DC area, I worked for a credit union in the DC area, and one of our biggest competitors was a credit union down the street. But the credit union down the street actually had a bridge loan that my CEO wanted us to put together. Right, so the CEO at the credit union I worked for said, "Hey, can you put together a bridge loan?" I knew nothing about bridge loans, absolutely nothing. And so one day, at an ACUMA event, I met the head of mortgage at this other credit union, and we just sat down. She gave me her number, and one day, I just called her and said, "Hey, my CEO wants to do a bridge loan. How do I put together this program?" She sent me her guidelines. She sent me her procedures. She sent me her pricing. I had everything I needed to put together an actual loan program. She didn't care. It was just like, hey, I'm helping Peter down the street, and that's what credit unions do, and I love it.
Yeah, and she didn't view you as competition. She didn't view you as just
she knew she was better. She knew she was outproducing me. But again, she didn't have to, right? She most certainly didn't do that. Like she could have just said, "Hey, no, sorry, it's a competition." I mean, I the community bank I worked for, if another community bank, called me up, I was pretty much directed to hang up on them immediately, right? Same with non-bank lenders I've worked for in the past. It's the same exact thing. It's non-bank lenders or IMBs, they almost go out and try to sabotage each other, right? Not at credit unions, right? They're really out there trying to help.
And that gets to one of the questions I had of how can banks, independent mortgage companies be more like credit unions?
You got to be willing
to take the credit union focus away from the podcast a little bit, right? What from credit unions can these organizations copy, borrow, emulate?
I think it just boils down to the fact that, so it's tough, right? Because credit unions are going to be slightly different, right? Yes, they want to. Every credit union wants to focus on the communities that they're in, right? It doesn't matter if you are military focused or profession focused. So it's like the employer is really the member, like the big organization is the member. So it doesn't. So all credit unions want to serve their communities, but you have that fallback of the select employer groups, right? Where that's very little overlap with regards to select employer groups. So there's no competition there. But I think what credit unions are very good at is reminding each other that, hey, we're in this to serve our communities, right? Who cares if there's overlap? If I can't do it, maybe Joe down the street can. I think if banks and non-bank lenders really want to improve and move the needle forward, it's that mindset of, hey, we're all in this together. It's all about taking a tough market and helping as many families get in homes as we possibly can. That's it.
Yeah, and I mean, the high tide raises all ships, right? And I think that's important, throughout this industry. I also think the looking at the member or borrower, consumer as a lifelong client is something that not everyone does, right? It's easier for credit unions because you're not just looking at them getting a mortgage, you're looking at a lot of other products in a way an independent mortgage company probably couldn't. But they can also look at that person as a source of business throughout their life for more transactions, for referrals, for I think that there are ways of getting creative there.
It is, but it's also a reminder, why are you doing this, right? Yeah, yes, you can make a lot of money in mortgages, right? And people have made a lot of money in mortgages. But why are you doing this, right? If it's not to help your neighbor, get out of this business. Just get out. Right. You're not in it for the right reasons. And I think that's when I go to a credit union and I look around and I meet with people, I can honestly say when I go into these conferences for credit union conferences, these people are in this for the right reason.
Yeah,
that's it.
No, it's great to see, and it's important to not lose sight of that. I think oftentimes people do. So looking into 2024, what's next for ACUMA? What's next for credit unions?
Credit unions, it's I think it's 2024 is it's going to be an interesting year, right? It started off pretty interesting. I think it's going to continue to be interesting. I think credit unions are continuing to look at opportunities to improve, whether that's through technology or understanding their liquidity issues and starting to look outward to, selling, servicing, release, and working with the GSEs to kind of help expand home ownership. For ACUMA, we're just going to stay the course, right? So I've been president at this point in time, just under 2 years. And we've really moved the needle a lot. We've done a lot in this time period, right? We've added 2 more live events. We do approximately, between podcasts and webinars, you're looking at probably around 50 of those a year combined. Wow. Plus all the different, email publications that we put out. We're doing a lot, right? So the goal is let's stay the course for a year. Let's not do anything crazy. Mm-hmm. Even though I always have some crazy idea that I want to do, let's not do anything crazy. And really just be there for the members. Let's find ways to support them as best we possibly can. We're in front of them all the time. Let's find ways to continue to support them and help them navigate 2024. That's it.
No, I think that's great. And especially I think there's something calming about being able to have that steady hand now in your third full year of doing this too. And, I'm sure there'll be opportunities, there'll be ideas, especially if you have that credit union member focus.
100%.
So last question, we ask every guest this, what is your LodeStar, right? What is your guiding star that gets you out of bed in the morning, doing this, working with credit unions, going to conferences, doing podcasts, all of that?
That's a tough question. Believe it or not, it's a tough question. But I asked a very similar question on our podcast. It's like what kind of gets you out of bed? What puts one foot on the floor? For me, I kind of just always come back to family, right?
Yep.
Family is key, right? I live a very blessed life, and I never want to lose sight of that. My kids and my wife mean the world to me, and they are my tackling fuel. If I can be better for them every single day, I'm going to be better for them every single day. And so how does that translate to what keeps pushing me is that if I can help one family, other family have that, what I experience and the blessed life that I have, if I can help just one person, one family have that, that's a full day. That's a good day. Now for me, obviously I don't directly deal with members anymore, and I don't work for a credit union. So in many ways I have to do this through the credit unions that I serve, because I now serve credit unions. So if I can serve them and help them provide that to their families, their members, that's a good day.
Yeah. No, I think that's incredibly well said.
Thank you.
Where can folks find you?
LinkedIn. Pretty much everywhere on LinkedIn. ACUMA.org. We have the ACUMA On Point podcast. You can listen to us anywhere that you listen to your major podcasts. It's fun. It's nothing crazy. Like, we don't do anything serious. We tell bad dad jokes at the end. We do trivia. We play Jeopardy.
I have some good ones. So
Jim, that's an easy solution. We're gonna have you on now.
I'll have them all ready for you.
All right, perfect. So it's find me on LinkedIn. Always connect with me.
Well, Peter, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. I can't believe it took 4 years to get you on. It will not be this long next time, so be warned.
Sounds good, Jim.
But thanks a lot, everyone, for listening. Talk to you all soon.